So let's get started with the first part of conversational competence, which is interpersonal communication. Now to begin, let's start with understanding what exactly is interpersonal communication. Like I mentioned in the previous video, the minute there is more than one person involved in the communication, where there is a sharing of thoughts, feelings, ideas, etc., then it becomes interpersonal communication. So now think about the fact that why would we need to be good at interpersonal communication? Because that's exactly how we get to talk to the other people. This is how we connect. Therefore, interpersonal communication is a very core part of how we communicate with other people. It is the crux of communication, because whether or not it is a meeting or a presentation or an interview, the base of it is a conversation. It is two or more people interacting to connect with each other, to probably share a bit of information, to maybe influence the other person to take a decision, to make a call, to hire, to not hire, to express how they feel, whether it is love, whether it is sadness, expression, regret, and then finally to share. When people get together, there is a lot of reasons why they get together. And the major aspect is to communicate. We as people are social beings and we need to communicate. And interpersonal communication is exactly that. When you speak to yourself, that is called intrapersonal communication. But the minute there is another person involved, then it becomes interpersonal communication. And I believe you understand that this is all of a communication, which is why it is important that we work on this key skill. Now that you know what is interpersonal communication and why it is important, it brings us to the more important question. So how do we get better at interpersonal communication? Let's go back to maybe in school. You might have heard about the process of communication. So if you don't remember, let me remind you, it looks like this. There is a sender and there is a receiver, and the sender transmits a message to the receiver through a medium. And that medium could be anything. The receiver receives the message and then sends feedback to the sender saying that they received the message. Now this is a basic communication process. Now let's apply it to interpersonal communication. Whenever there's two people involved, there is a sender and there is a receiver. Now there can be more than one receiver as well, but there is a sender, there is a speaker, there is a listener, there is a message that is being shared through a medium. It could be verbal, it could be non-verbal, it could be written, and then the feedback is received, and then the listener sends a message again to the speaker. And this entire process is how interpersonal communication works. So if you want to become better at interpersonal communication, then you need to work on these 5 aspects. Your role in sending the message effectively, the medium through which you're sending the message has to be conveyed in the right format or in the right way. And then as a receiver, because at one point or the other you would be doing the job of the receiver or the listener as well. Therefore, your responsibility as a listener, your skill as a listener, and finally the aspect of sharing feedback or responding to the other person. This entire process or all these 5 aspects are what you need to become better at to improve your interpersonal communication. And it's as simple as that. Now, you might think it's not as simple, but look at which of these 5 aspects that you need to improve upon. Do you need to become a better speaker? Do you need to learn how to send your message effectively? Maybe it's through verbal or a non-verbal or a written format. So effective message sending and in the right medium. Or is it your job as a listener that you need to work on? Or is it your job as a responder, sending that feedback and sharing that feedback? So which of these aspects do you need to work on? Figure that out and get started working with that. Now, these are the 5 aspects that you would need to work on depending on how good or maybe how better you think you can be. I would be sharing a lot of tips and tricks down the line for all these aspects. But if there's anything that you would like more help in detail, don't hesitate to reach out to me. And with this, we are done with the first piece. Now, in the second piece, we are going to look at conversations and connections. I'll see you in the next video.